we understand that 350 people crossed the English Channel over the weekend. That takes the total since January to over 1,000.
This comes as the House of Lords is once again debating the government's Safety of Rwanda bill later this afternoon.
Meanwhile, 4 Rwandans have been granted refuge over fears of persecution, despite the Home Office's claim that it is a safe country. So is it? Let's find out now, because joining us to debate this, Simon Danczuk, former Labour MP, who says it is safe.
And human rights lawyer Shoaib Khan, who says the country simply isn't. Good morning to you both. Let's start, first of all, with you, Shoaib Khan. I'm presuming that you will point to its human rights record, the problem of torture, the oppression of journalists within the country, all of which have been concerns flagged by the Supreme Court here in the United Kingdom.
Yes, good morning. Yes, exactly. I mean, I think factually, legally, obviously, firstly, we have the Supreme Court judgment now anyway. So I think, it should really be beyond doubt now. That's the highest British court, what they say, we should be accepting that. I can't see, why they would have any reason to find against Rwanda or find against the bill if there was any way that they could find it to be safe. So that's the first thing. But secondly, all the things that you mentioned, those are facts. Those are not things, as far as I know, I don't think even Rwanda has been disputing those facts and those incidents as well. What we've seen is, almost exactly the same deal that we have with Rwanda now, or would have if it actually happened, is something that Israel did with Rwanda just a few years ago. And almost, I believe the figures are 0 now of the people who remain in Rwanda. Most of them were pushed out of the country. They were forced to cross the borders to other countries. Others left because the life there was just unbearable for them. They had to leave to other countries. And so for all these reasons, and even particularly looking at how refugees have been treated there in the past, there have been incidents when the authorities, once I believe the issue was the quality or the quantity of food being provided to them. Once they were protesting against that, and live fire was opened on them, and some suffered injuries. So I think, we have had quite horrendous incidents. And as particularly as Eamon just mentioned now, about, we're actually granting refugee or asylum to Rwandan nationals in the UK. So obviously in that case, we accept that Rwanda isn't safe for even those Rwandan nationals. Well, so to be pushing or sending other people there from other countries, I think, that is a dangerous step.
Shoaib, what we're going to do now is speak to Simon Danczuk, who joins us in the studio. Simon's a former Labour MP, he's a political consultant now. Simon, the reason why you're so interesting, amongst the many reasons you're so interesting, you're married to a Rwandan, and you have a home there. Is this the country that you recognised? How safe do you feel in Rwanda?
It's an exceptionally safe country. That's the reality of it. I've been there dozens upon dozens of times. I was there a couple of weeks ago. I'll be there in a few weeks' time. It's an incredibly safe country. I've taken my children there on more than one occasion. I feel safer in Kigali in Rwanda than I would in parts of London. That's the reality of it. It's very well policed, very well organised, and a very well-run country.
But it's interesting. Shoaib Khan there was saying that even the fact that we talked about its human rights record, its use of torture, its oppression of journalists. It's all very well to say that you've had a good time and felt safe there, but presumably you haven't spoken out against President Kagame.
Well, I've spoken to many, many hundreds of people in Rwanda. Paul Kagame, the president, has the support that only British politicians could dream of in his country. He's very popular, extremely popular. I've met with many journalists over there. I've met with politicians over there. So I have a very rounded view of what's going on in the country. The reality is that the United Nations actually sends refugees from Libya into Rwanda so that they can be looked after. This is a country that looks after refugees. It has a reputation for doing that.
But what would it do with those refugees, Simon? I'm interested, once you find yourself there, and bear in mind that most people couldn't hit it with 3 darts on a map. As I understand it, I think I'm right in saying it's smack bang in the middle of Africa, isn't it? The continent of Africa.
Yeah, more or less. It's just to the east of the centre. That's exactly right. And it's a landlocked country. What you would learn about it is that it's quite conservative and it does take its defence very seriously because it's been threatened by some of the countries like the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, which borders it. So there have been tensions there and they do take their defence very seriously. But it's a very well-run country. People are very safe there. There is absolutely no doubt about that. In terms of Shoaib's point on this, he mentions that the Supreme Court has sovereignty. It's Parliament that has sovereignty in the United Kingdom, and they've decided, quite rightly, that Rwanda is a safe place to send illegal immigrants who are coming here and shouldn't be coming here.
Shoaib Khan, can I just ask you, we've had Michaela Wrong on the programme a number of times, who's written a great deal about Rwanda in the past and has actually faced death threats for doing so. She commented on something that that Simon mentioned there about his significant popularity within the country. I mean, I think he won the last election by 99%. She thought that was highly suspicious. What's your view? Are they free and fair elections?
No, I mean, I think the figures speak for themselves. Obviously, Simon says, that support that people, in the UK and I'm sure elsewhere can only dream of. But I think probably because the figures aren't all that correct or accurate. I think we would really have to be, quite naive to believe that those are fair and free elections. And the point, that Simon's making generally as well. I'm just going around, everyone seems to be supporting the president and, but doesn't that just show that everyone is absolutely terrified of speaking out against him? I'm sure, however beautiful the country is, however well run, people would have some concerns. But if no one is able to express their concerns, I think that just shows
nonsense. The people in Rwanda, there is no doubt about it. President Kagame is exceptionally popular. He is more popular than any British politician would ever be, and that is just a fact. I suspect you haven't been to the country, or if you have, you haven't spent very much time speaking to the people there. The reality is he's exceptionally popular, and we don't have to decide as a nation whether we're sending people to a highly democratic country or one that runs its elections in a different way to us. We just have to decide that we can send them to a safe country, and Rwanda is a safe country. I've read Michaela Wong's book and I don't rate it, and I've said that publicly actually. There's a lot of inaccuracies in it.
A final thought from you, Shoaib Khan, and we have to leave it there.
Well, if it is safe, then why are we granting refuge to Rwandans? And those are Rwandans, their country is born there,
that says more about
there,
the Home
and
Office.
those are the people.
That says more about our immigration system than it does about whether they should get refuge in this country. We let Albanians into this country, and that's not a country that's at war. Germany doesn't even let Albanians in. That's the whole point. You don't have to be at war to have a genuine fair there. So you don't have to be at war to have fair. That's the whole point. That people who speak out, the 1%, then if the elections are accurate, that 1% who votes against, they're in trouble. None.
Oh.
Well, that's left you speechless.
I don't know if he heard. Listen, we have to leave it there. Simon Danczuk and Shoaib Khan, I don't think you're going to agree on this one, but really interesting to air both sides of the argument.